Denial. Self-denial is when beings do not allow themselves to become a specific expression as who they are, but instead remain in the specific expression which they are aware of do not honor them, yet have become addicted to. Addiction and possession is the support expression of self-denial in beings' experiences of and as themselves. Two beings are in a relationship together and have been for quite some time. The one being have suddenly one day decided to leave, unexpectedly, with no notice or warning, just merely up and left, leaving the other being in absolute disdain. Distraught and unbearable emotionally destructive torment as a complete and total breakdown of self is experienced, apparently their entire world and who they are falling apart because this one singular being is no more present in their existence. Self-denial is then the experience that is allowed by this being who express themselves as perceived to have been left, abandoned, lost, unstable, depressed, and lonely, not able to function, exist, or live without the other being in their presence with them constantly, which is not true. It's a perceived idea and extreme lie. With this, apparently the being is not able to live without the other, not able to exist without the other, not able to carry on without the other. This is the truth of self-denial, as I mentioned. This being is not allowing the truth of self to step forth, which is the simple act and application allowed through this being basing, defining and founding themselves within and as this being who has left, creating the perception that they too now are lost, are gone, and are apparently not here, and their actions and expressions of emotional breakdowns afterwards, sometimes for months afterwards, are but confirmation of the addiction and possession attached to the being who has left. Self-denial is supported through possession and addiction as the being's experience of their world, their life, and themselves crashing, crumbling down, and having to be destroyed because this one being had left, because they had defined themselves as who they are and what they are within, and as this being, as the experience of self-denial is supported by the experience thereafter of emotional breakdowns and depression as withdrawal symptoms, as addiction and possession. The reason for this specifically being an expression of self-denial is that in truth, no one needs anyone, and if this being was absolute in full acceptance as who they are with no wants, needs, desires, where no self-definition have been placed outside themselves and others due to being able to stand alone within self-worth, the other leaving would have brought forth no reaction whatsoever, no movement, not even refractionally, as this being understands who they are as equality, oneness, and awareness, and stand alone. All one, and relationships are but agreements where each are free in self-expression and not bounded, held, or tied to each other is any way or form whatsoever. Self-denial is the lie that is perceived to be true as emotionally based self-defined experiences and expressions based and placed in others as the perceived experience of abandonment afterwards, when in truth the being who is left is actually all right, fine, and fulfilled with no wants, needs, and desires or requirements. This must be realized through the simple act of self-acceptance within awareness. Excuses. Excuses are rather similar to justifications, though excuses are the quicker and faster reactions used by consciousness as another form of defense used through fear to cover up the truth, to not allow one to be viewed by others as being inconsiderate, and not allow oneself to experience inferiority in a particular allowed momentary application. Excuses are made up, thought up, lies in a moment as a reason, as defense to protect one's own allowance of not getting something done immediately in a moment. A simple example would be when asked to complete a specific task, the being is aware of the requirement of the task to be done by a specific indicated time, space, and place. But the being who has been given responsibility to fulfill this task deems something else, something personal, to be of more importance than the specific responsibility as the task given to them to be completed. When the moment arrives and the being is approached to present the task, the being then aloofly replies by stating that, for instance, they did not understand specific particulars regarding the specific methodologies to complete the task, and thus was not able to be given, due to the reason being given as apparently having no understanding, which is a lie, made up and thought up to cover up the truth that the being preferred to do something else which he deemed more important for his own personal satisfaction than the completion of the task for which the being had been given responsibility for. With excuses always, mostly always, come unfortunate consequences. though the being used the excuse because they were aware that they are not able to use the truth as being stated that something else as personal satisfaction was more important, otherwise the being who handed the task would have perceived themselves to be unreliable. And this is not an option. Rather use an excuse, bear the possible consequences that the truth of the realism of the situation being revealed. Hiding. Hiding is a fascinating game being played by many beings. The perception of hiding creating the idea or belief that the truth of specific situation or application will not step forth is quite an entertaining factor being expressed by those that unsuccessfully try and hide. Hiding, for instance, as example would be the application when someone is directly confronted to assist another with specific information and guidelines with regards to occurrence that manifested as an experience and requires clarification. As a situation which occurred that have become unresolved and answers are necessary to be provided to assist and support with the uncovering of details to resolve the specific situation. During this confrontation, the being who is approached decides not to share all information known and obtained as being an eyewitness to the situation which occurred, to be certain of them not being seen as liable participants having to face the consequences when in truth they were involved in the entire situation. So, the being through fear of being discovered as hiding information which will uncover the reality of the situation and has allowed consequential participation remains as far as possible from those that have questioned them, distancing themselves as much as possible to remain posed in the idea that they are speaking the truth, hiding nothing are constant, stable, and here, barely proportioned in remaining postured to seem to be honest in their explanations and choices of words. Though they have to live and experience the guilt and the fear of the truth ever really being discovered, uncovered, or known, and will remain in this hiding from others if not discovered and uncovered for the rest of their lives. A skeleton which remain in the closet of themselves. Though mostly I have found that the truth is indeed found, discovered and uncovered by other means necessary, and the hidden nature of the denied allegations is revealed. The being still remains hidden within themselves, never again able to trust themselves as they walk the earth in shame. So either way, when anything is remained and kept hidden by anyone or anything, the consequences of the allowed hiding becomes the nature, the essence of who they are, which will haunt them for the remainder of their lives, whether uncovered, revealed or not, and experiences the unbearable consequences of such allowed actions. Wants, needs, and desires. All three these words, as per definition in the construct of consciousness, are able to be expressed and placed in the exact same category in explanation of perceived emptiness of self within and as loneliness. It's required to be filled with something that has been placed outside themselves, which will apparently fill the void that is experienced within self as self. Wants and needs are specific pre-programmed experiences of self within consciousness. It's accepted as a normal self-defined requirement that all who participate in such beliefs and actions of attaining and reaching to fill the perceived void within self through achieving certain experiences by having certain necessities and through this fulfilling the wants and needs pre-programmed within self. The emptiness and the void within self as the wants and needs being fulfilled once the wants and needs in their world as the experience of themselves have been achieved, reached, and or realized as a manifested experience of self. Desires being the greater, superior application of wants and needs where self in totality as whom a being is as the presence of themselves requires an attainment, a becoming, and an achievement. This will change them completely and totally to assist themselves in removing themselves from a certain perceived, unaccepted state and expression of being as a dream that is required to be realized. An example of the application of wants, needs, and desires would be, for instance, a being that experienced themselves as having no money or less money. Due to the examples that surround them as others who apparently have everything and live comfortably, they use their perception as having nothing or less than to fulfill the empty void within self with guidance as money. Through this creating a want and need for money which is necessary to be obtained, reached, and achieved. And thus fill the void by having that which those apparently have who surround them to be seen as equal and be accepted, and be the same amongst those who have and live comfortable lives. So this being will delegate and transform their worlds to obtain that which will fill the void within. Money. Desire would be the greater obtainment, achievement, and attainment. where the being pictures themselves within a dreamlike state, standing in their self-owned successful business, wearing the best suits, the best shoes, the best car, with extensive amounts of money, living like a king, completely content and satisfied with who they are. Only now, once their desire, their dream have been realized, the void as self in totality is being fulfilled through the manifestation of their desire as an experience of themselves. All wants, needs, and desires are based on perception and belief systems as ideas of self which, when allowed to create, a void of disappointment, dissatisfaction, and unaccepted and intolerable experiences of self will then in turn create the perceived idea that the experience of disappointment, dissatisfaction, and unaccepted and intolerable experiences of self will only be fulfilled and be experienced as self-acceptance and satisfaction through obtainment, achievement, and attainment of manifested materialistic forms based outside self, to which beings will give up everything for and dedicate and commit their lives and themselves to fill the perceived empty voids of self through the wants, needs, and desires. Self completely forgotten and lost, enslaved by consciousness through such actions and participations. Consciousness. I am not taking the statement out of proportion when I say that all of existence has been created in the image and likeness of consciousness. To place this statement into perspective briefly is that all of existence, this includes Earth and the dimensions with humans and dimensional beings within and within, have been pre-programmed and designed by the white light. This includes your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your ideas, pictures, belief systems, basically everything that each human being experiences within themselves, which relates to an event that took place in their lives, and through this event, an experience was obtained to become a memory which, when you dig into the past, your past experiences which to a certain extent are able to relive the event that took place as an experience of yourself which is able to be remembered. The white light was then supported by systems which at birth would manifest and integrate within humans' physical bodies, establish the mind, the subconscious mind and unconscious mind systems. So the dimensional beings who are born to this reality on Earth become systems delegated, directed, and controlled by the white light as well as systems. This being a description of consciousness in relation to the world, now we have the mind consciousness systems, which I have mentioned is all that which each human being is in this world, on this planet as what they have defined themselves as. Each human being's answer to the question asked, "Who are you?" would be a consciousness statement, as everything each human is as a description of who they are is based on consciousness, and consciousness is a design, a system created in the image and likeness with foundational construct as knowledge and information, where the three mind stages are used to program human beings on Earth with through dimensional implants, which is how the white light with the support of systems controlled and directed humans on Earth as slaves to do their bidding. Thus humans have become mere robots, existing only as knowledge and information systems, no life, no becoming, and no living who they are as knowledge and information in practical application here on Earth in existence. Really, truly robots, following the methodology of copying applications, behaviors, and ways of life from those that have gone before them, as parents, for instance, where the sins of the fathers are passed on from generation to generation and everything remains the same, but at the same time have become worse due to the destructive nature of consciousness as knowledge and information systems as humans as robots, initially created as an enslavement system which is based on separation, inequality, judgment, limitations, enslavement, fear, and control. At this very moment, humans, all that you have come to believe and perceive to be you, to be your experience of yourself, is consciousness, a consciousness system designed and created by the white light with the support of systems to enslave humans so they may never, infinitely so, and this was also supported by the soul construct, stand up, become, live, and apply who each human being really is as a quality, as life, as oneness, as creation, creator, and awareness. Awareness. Awareness is the becoming, living, and applying as who each are in truth, in essence, which have been lost, forgotten as who we are through each one's allowance to be controlled and enslaved by consciousness systems. knowledge and information systems, and through this allowance allowed ourselves to define ourselves according to knowledge and information systems as who we have believed and perceived ourselves to be. To place the difference between consciousness and awareness into perspective would be the following. Awareness is self and application is flow. Consciousness is systematic pre-programmed delegated movement. Awareness as self and application is becoming aware of specific behavioral patterns which do not honor who I am in a moment. I then immediately stand up within and as awareness, correct the behavioral pattern which do not honor me immediately, instantaneously, and not again allow myself to look back and apply it again. As consciousness, when a specific behavioral pattern is lived, this behavioral pattern has been defined as who the being is in, and as consciousness, thus will be conscious of the behavioral pattern, see it, but not do anything about it at all, as the being have defined themselves according to the behavioral pattern and will not let it go as it's apparently part of who they are, and when they let it go, they will be lost too. So, when a being is conscious of something, anything, it will be noticed, but nothing will be done to support themselves in taking corrective action to change that which is necessary to be changed to set them free from enslaved existences. Whereas in and awareness as self and application, the corrective action is done immediately. The beings stand up and take responsibility and not allow themselves to apply such allowances again. Awareness as self and application directs. Consciousness requires a systematic pre-programmed route to be directed. Awareness as self and application takes responsibility for self. Consciousness requires total dependency to be able to exist. Awareness as self and application stands alone, all one. Consciousness requires relationships as self-defined existences to be able to sustain itself. Awareness as self and application moves as self. Consciousness requires a pre-programmed delegated format to be able to move through friction or conflict. Awareness as self and application creates through unconditional self-expression. Consciousness requires and uses that which has already been here to establish upgrades, replicas, or duplicates to form an idea, a prospect, an illusion of creation which is not real. Awareness is life, is who I am in practical application in every moment, becomes my presence as awareness stands infinitely here, in every moment, stable, unwavering, untouchable, always infinitely constant, every day the same, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Consciousness is systems, is systematic, and is pre-programmed, never stable, never constant, inconsistent, and unreliable, where human beings exist in perceptions, thoughts, presumptions, and idealisms only. Awareness is when each human being lives the words they speak, when they are the words they speak, and they become the words they speak as a statement of who they are in application, the same, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Awareness is self as the living word, living and applying as the living word in every moment with every breath.